All right, let's dive into something truly fascinating today. You've seen AI everywhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's unavoidable now.
From crafting stunning art to writing, well, pretty compelling prose, it's quickly becoming ingrained in, human culture.
Mhm.
But what if the very fuel behind AI's explosive rise is also its most profound weakness?
That's the core question, isn't it?
We're exploring a groundbreaking new report today. It introduces this concept of human as base reality.
A really interesting framing.
It argues that our raw, messy, subjective human experience isn't just data, it's the non negotiable ontological anchor for AI.
The anchor.
Yeah.
Without it, problems arise.
Exactly. Without this anchor, these advanced systems risk something called epistemic drift, which can lead to the pretty terrifying phenomenon of model collapse.
Model collapse sounds serious.
It is. So, our mission in this deep dive is to really unravel what model collapse means, why human experience is so uniquely vital.
And how we're trying to fix it, presumably.
Yeah, how engineers are attempting to safeguard AI against this threat, the inherent philosophical limits of AI, and what all this implies for, like a new social contract concerning your personal data and lived experience.
Right. It goes way beyond just the tech.
Totally. This isn't just tech talk. It's about ensuring the AI tools you engage with remain firmly grounded in a reality that actually makes sense to us.
Rounded is the key word.
So let's start with this rather alarming notion the report calls the specter of recursive degradation.
Recursive degradation. Okay.
Imagine generative AI models, the ones creating text and images, starting to learn predominantly from their own outputs.
Okay. Eating its own tail, so to speak.
Precisely. This creates what's known as a recursive feedback loop.
Hmm.
And what happens then is pretty chilling.
Go on.
This process can lead directly to model collapse, which the report calls an irreversible degenerative process, where the models quite literally misperceive reality.
Wow. Misperceive reality.
Yeah. It's so serious, they originally dubbed it model dementia.
Dementia.
It is. It's like the AI becomes poisoned with its own projection of reality.
That's a powerful way to frame it. The poisoning you mentioned isn't just metaphorical. It stems from the compounding of two fundamental types of error at a technical level.
Okay. What are those?
First, you have statistical approximation error. Think of it this way. Any training data we give an AI is just a finite sample of the vast complexity of human experience.
Right, just a snapshot.
Exactly. So the low probability events those outliers, the rare but incredibly rich nuances found at the tails of the data distribution, they're the first to be lost with each resampling and each new generation of synthetic data.
So the weird, uncommon stuff gets forgotten.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Over time, the models essentially forget the truly unique and often crucial information that exists outside the statistical average.
And what's the other type of error at play here?
The second is functional approximation error. Every AI model by its very design is a function approximator.
Trying to mimic the patterns.
Right. And if the model's architecture isn't complex enough to perfectly capture the true underlying data from the start, it introduces its own inherent errors.
So it's flawed from the beginning.
Potentially, yes. This creates a flawed projection of reality right out of the gate. And that flaw gets magnified with every recursive training loop.
Okay, I see.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it means the AI's understanding of reality becomes increasingly smoothed, simplified, and detached. It erodes its capacity for the truly unexpected, the rare yet crucial nuances.
Making it brittle, predictable.
Exactly. Where human intelligence thrives on complexity and, the unexpected.
Okay, so these errors are happening under the hood, but what does this actually look like for you when you're interacting with AI? Can we see this?
We can, yeah. We can genuinely quantify this loss of fidelity.
How?
Well, you'll likely start noticing a loss of diversity and increased repetitiveness in the outputs. The AI's responses will converge towards the mean.
Towards the average.
Right. And we measure this by declining linguistic entropy, which, in simpler terms, means the language it uses becomes less varied and more predictable, almost like it's running out of new ways to express itself.
Okay, so it gets boring. What else?
You might also observe a degradation of common sense reasoning. There are benchmarks for this.
Like tests.
Sort of, like the HelloSwag dataset, which tests AI's ability to pick plausible sentence completions. A decline here indicates the AI is losing its grasp of real-world logic, how things typically unfold.
That sounds fundamental.
It is, and perhaps most subtly, what the report calls forgetting the author.
Forgetting the author.
Yeah, AI loses its stylistic diversity. It overfits to a homogenized mode of expression, becomes this kind of monolithic virtual author, unable to truly emulate different human styles.
So imagine all the books you've read suddenly sounding like they were written by the exact same, very bland person.
Precisely. That's the risk.
Wow, okay.
And this brings up a critical point. Many people assume AI is constantly improving, right?
Hmm.
Especially with techniques designed for alignment and safety.
Yeah, like RLHF.
Exactly. Reinforcement learning from human feedback. But there's a deep paradox here. These techniques, designed to make AI output preferred or harmless responses, might actually accelerate model collapse.
How? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, by essentially trimming the tails of the data distribution,
Hmm.
those very unique, diverse, and sometimes risky responses, we're inadvertently removing the novelty, creativity, and the wide spectrum of authorial voices.
So trying to make it nice makes it less interesting, less real.
In essence, yes. In our effort to make AI safe and compliant, we may be making it stupid in a very specific technical sense, by accelerating its detachment from the full, unaligned spectrum of human reality.
And we can measure this drift.
We can.
Hmm.
We have quantitative metrics for detecting this, like Wasserstein distance and Kale divergence. They essentially measure how much the model's generated data distribution is drifting from the original human one.
Okay, so if model collapse is basically AI losing touch with a crucial signal, what is that unique human signal in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's clearly more than just statistical patterns, right? The report says it's a compressed projection of our high-dimensional reality, rooted in our complex cognition, our subjective experience, our emotions.
All the messy stuff.
Exactly. Human intelligence, for instance, thrives on contradiction and irony. We get sarcasm, we hold conflicting ideas. AI's success here is often brilliant pattern matching, but it's not genuine theory of mind.
That ability to understand others' mental states,
Mhm.
beliefs, intentions.
Right. AI mimics it, but doesn't have it. And consider improvisation and creativity. Humans generate truly novel concepts, not just clever recombinations. AI can score superhuman on some tests, like the divergent association test.
But it's leveraging statistical associations,
Yeah.
right? Not genuine insight flashing out of nowhere.
That's the argument. And crucially for you listening, there's embodied common sense.
Ah, the physical world connection.
Yeah. Our intuitive understanding of physics, causality, how the world works, it isn't primarily learned from text. It's from direct physical interaction with our environment since birth.
Like knowing a glass will shatter because you've dropped things.
Exactly. And AI can know that because it's read it a million times, but it lacks that foundational non-linguistic understanding a child gains just by, knocking things off a table. AI truly lacks this fundamental grounding.
And this ties into something really fascinating from philosophy, the concept of qualia.
Qualia. Explain that.
It refers to the subjective, qualitative, what it is like of conscious experience, the internal sensation of seeing the color red, or the distinct feeling of tasting chocolate.
The actual feeling itself.
Exactly. Philosopher David Chalmers famously calls this the hard problem of consciousness. And this poses, well, maybe an unbridgeable chasm for AI.
Why unbridgeable?
Because an AI can process wavelengths, identify an object as red, recall cultural associations, but it can never have the subjective experience itself. It manipulates symbols, the syntax.
The rules of language.
Right. Without true meaning or subjective feeling. The semantics. This is famously illustrated by John Searle's Chinese room argument.
I remember that thought experiment.
So AI can skillfully simulate responses to qualia, but it can never genuinely comprehend them because it lacks the subjective viewpoint, what it's like to be necessary for such experience.
That's a profound distinction. Okay, let's unpack this further in the realm of emotion. AI models can exhibit remarkable emotional intelligence, right?
Sometimes scarily good, yeah. They can even score higher than humans on standard EI tests like EQ Bench.
And they can modulate their tone, respond to user frustration.
Yours.
It seems like they understand.
It really does. But here's where it gets particularly insightful, as the report points out. This is masterful simulation, not genuine feeling.
Simulation, not feeling.
Right. And AI doesn't feel sad. It has learned the statistical correlations of sadness and how to respond appropriately based on vast amounts of text data.
Like an incredibly good actor.
Exactly. It's the difference between a virtuoso actor portraying grief on stage and a person genuinely grieving the loss of a loved one.
Okay.
So when human data is compressed experience, a simple word like grief points to this vast, intricate internal network of memories, sensations, personal history for a human.
a whole world behind the word.
Precisely. AI, however, learns the statistical contours of the pointer, the word itself, but never the rich experiential territory behind it.
And this can lead to, what, an emotional uncanny valley for you?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
As AI simulation improves, it might even be rated more empathetic than humans by some metrics. But knowing it's an AI, that fundamental lack of shared
It
experience,
feels hollow.
it can cause a sudden collapse in perceived authenticity and moral respect. You evaluate emotional communication not just on its content, but deeply on the perceived source and the capacity for shared experience.
That makes sense. Okay, so given this very real threat of model collapse, how do we even begin to keep AI anchored? What are the strategies?
Well, the most fundamental strategy discussed is data provenance.
Provenance, like the origin story of the data.
Essentially, yes.
Mm.
A meticulously documented trail of a data object's origin, how it was created, its movement, any transformations it underwent.
And why is that so critical?
It begs the important question: who actually created this data? Was it human or AI? A large-scale audit by MIT, for example, found systemic neglect.
Neglect.
Yeah, licenses frequently miscategorized or completely omitted in datasets used to train prominent large language models. This lack of transparency isn't just messy, it creates significant legal risks and makes it incredibly difficult to curate data responsibly.
So we don't even know what we're feeding these things sometimes.
Often, yes. Robust provenance systems would use things like automated metadata capture, standardization, and immutable logging, maybe via cryptographic hashing, or even blockchain.
To create a reliable record.
Exactly. This would allow us to consistently distinguish between first-order, genuine human data, and second-order, synthetic data generated by AI.
Okay, so tracking the source. What else?
Beyond just these back-end records, another approach is watermarking.
Putting a hidden mark on AI output.
Pretty much. It embeds a detectable signal directly into AI-generated output. For large language models, this subtly modifies text generation in a way that's usually invisible to you.
But a machine can spot it.
Right, algorithmically. And what's quite surprising here is its resilience. Even if someone tries to paraphrase the text to remove the watermark,
The signal often survives.
often, yes, especially over longer passages. It's not foolproof, but it's a tool.
Interesting. Any other approaches?
Well, complementing this tech are social frameworks emerging, like Creative Commons CC signals.
What do those do?
They allow creators to explicitly signal preferences like "don't train on my work" or "train," but disclose that you did, for their content. The goal here is trying to establish a new social contract for sharing content in this age of AI.
A way for humans to have more say.
That's the idea.
Okay, so provenance, watermarking, social signals. What about just feeding it more good data?
Yes. Perhaps the most direct countermeasure to model collapse, one the report really emphasizes, is keeping the AI system open to fresh, high-fidelity input.
Continuously adding real human data.
Exactly. Studies are quite clear. If you replace original real data with synthetic data generated solely by the AI itself, model collapse seems inevitable.
Makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out, amplified.
But what's fascinating is that accumulating successive generations of synthetic data alongside the original real data seems to prevent model collapse entirely.
Really? So you don't have to ditch the synthetic stuff, just keep the real stuff flowing?
It appears so. The continuous presence of human data acts as a constant corrective, a vital anchor. This is essentially the frontier hypothesis the report mentions.
Which is?
That constant access to genuine, first-order human content is absolutely essential for the long-term sustainability and richness of generative AI.
Okay, that's huge. So if that's the case, what does this all imply for you, for the listener, and the future of information?
Well, these solutions will almost certainly lead to what the report describes as a two-tiered information ecosystem.
2 tiers, like first class and coach.
Kind of. Tier 1 will be high cost, high fidelity, provenance tracked, first-order human data. Think premium, scarce, verified human experience, the only known antidote to model collapse. Like digital gold, as you said earlier.
Right, and tier 2?
Tier 2, conversely, will be the vast, low-cost, and potentially polluted ocean of synthetic, watermarked, or untracked data. Much more abundant, much less reliable.
So this changes the game for AI companies.
Absolutely. The competitive advantage shifts. It's not just about scraping the entire web anymore, but about securing exclusive, high-quality streams of Tier 1 data.
Which could lead to
An arms race. The report predicts a data laundering arms race, with adversarial models attempting to erase watermarks, fake provenance trails.
A continuous adversarial cat and mouse game.
Precisely. And for you, the consumer of information, this directly impacts how much you can truly trust what you see online. Distinguishing Tier 1 from Tier 2 becomes critical.
That's a lot to think about. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. There's another angle here. Embodied AI. Giving AI a body. Could that help?
It's a significant branch of AI research, exploring exactly that. Could giving AI a body fundamentally anchor it to reality and address epistemic drift from a different perspective?
And this is rooted in embodied cognitive science.
That's right. This view posits that cognition isn't solely confined to the brain, locked in a skull. It arises from the dynamic, reciprocal interplay between the brain, the body, and the environment.
So thinking involves the whole system, body and world included.
Essentially, yes. Cognition is situated, embodied, and extended. This raises that important question. Can true, human-like general intelligence ever emerge from purely disembodied models like LLMs, trained only on abstract data?
And this theory suggests probably not.
It strongly suggests that AI needs a physical body to learn through direct, continuous interaction with the physical world, to ground its symbols in actual experience.
Okay, so let's unpack how embodied AI works in practice. What does it look like?
It involves creating intelligent systems. These could be physical robots or agents operating within highly realistic simulations.
Virtual worlds.
Exactly. And they learn through continuous feedback loops between their sensors, which handle perception, and their actuators, which enable action. Think of reinforcement learning, but in a physical or simulated physical space.
Learning by doing, basically.
Okay.
Trial and error.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting and challenging. There are immense hurdles.
Like what?
The big one is the sim-to-real gap. What robots learn in idealized simulations often fails spectacularly when transferred to the messy, unpredictable real world.
Because the simulation is too clean?
Too clean, too predictable. Reality has way more variables.
Okay. And can these embodied AIs truly see or hear?
Well, they certainly have sensors that mimic human senses, cameras, microphones, etc. And they can process this data with superhuman proficiency, sometimes classifying complex signals, identifying faces with incredible accuracy.
Faster and maybe better than us in some ways.
In terms of pure data processing, often yes. However, and this is crucial for your perception, it's vital to distinguish this sophisticated data processing from genuine sensory experience.
Back to the qualia problem.
Exactly. An AI classifying a sound isn't hearing it in the way we do. It's performing highly complex mathematical transformations on audio data. It fundamentally lacks the subjective, qualitative experience. There's simply no what it's like to be an AI processing the visual data of a sunset.
Just processing pixels and patterns.
Which leads to a big evaluation challenge.
How do we measure if an AI is actually close to lived truth?
Yeah.
If it lacks the what it's like.
It's genuinely a frontier problem in AI research. Proxy metrics can offer some clues, things like semantic diversity, linguistic entropy again.
But they're just proxies.
Exactly. The gold standard for assessing true human-like qualities, the report argues, will always involve human evaluation. Automated metrics simply aren't enough for nuanced qualities like genuine empathy or true human likeness.
So we need humans in the loop for judging these things.
Critically. And we're seeing new benchmarks emerge that try to do this more rigorously. Things like HealthBench, which evaluates AI medical responses against physician-written criteria, assessing communication quality, context awareness.
More than just factual accuracy.
Right. And what's particularly fascinating is the development of cognitive science-based benchmarks. These are designed to probe for underlying human-like capabilities, causal reasoning, theory of mind, in dynamic interactive environments, not just static pattern recognition.
Trying to test for deeper understanding.
That's the goal.
Okay. So for you, the listener, what's the main takeaway here regarding embodiment?
We need to be wary of falling into what the report calls the embodiment shortcut fallacy.
The idea that just sticking an AI brain in a robot body solves everything.
Pretty much. That assumption ignores that true biological embodiment is the result of a deep, intricate coevolution of brain, body, and environment over millions of years.
It's not just plug and play.
Not at all. An AI in a robot is more akin to a ghost in a shell, an algorithm controlling a physical puppet. It certainly gets access to new types of data, sensory data from the world.
But it doesn't fix the core issue.
It doesn't resolve the fundamental disconnect between abstract information processing and situated subjective experience. Giving the Chinese room hands and feet doesn't suddenly grant it understanding or consciousness. The hard problem remains.
So embodiment helps with data grounding maybe, but not the subjective experience gap.
That seems to be the current understanding, which means future AI evaluation has to be human-centric and multifaceted. We need to focus on genuine alignment with your perception, your values, your cognitive processes.
Moving far beyond just raw performance metrics like speed or accuracy.
Exactly.
Okay. This brings us squarely to the ethical implications. If human experience is indeed irreplaceable for anchoring AI,
Then the way we've been getting data is problematic.
hugely, the current practice of indiscriminately scraping the digital commons for text and data mining becomes ethically unsustainable and, while legally questionable too, hence the lawsuits.
Right, we're seeing that play out now.
So this is where it gets particularly crucial. The report argues we need a new ethical framework, and it has to be rooted deeply in consent.
Consent, not just assuming we can take whatever's public.
No, explicit opt-in, not simply passive opt-out, which is often the default now.
And what does that consent need to look like?
The report stresses it must be informed, clear explanations from AI developers about what they're doing. It needs to be dynamic reobtained as AI models and their capabilities evolve.
Because the tech changes so fast.
Right. And crucially, it must be granular, giving you specific control over which data points are used for which purposes.
Real control, not just a blanket yes or no.
Exactly. This fundamentally reinforces your ownership over your data and your lived experiences.
Which leads us to a profound, almost speculative question the report raises.
That then?
What is the logical endpoint if human data truly becomes this valuable commodity?
A market for it.
A formal market, yes. For base reality training fragments or human fidelity units, verifiable first-order human experience could become a completely new tradable asset class.
Wow. Selling bits of our lives.
Potentially. We might see the rise of experience brokers, platforms connecting individuals willing to license their data.
What kind of data?
Could be anonymized conversations, biometric data, maybe even real-time video feeds. Connect them with AI companies hungry for tier 1 input.
This sounds like those platforms that pay you for your browsing history, but on steroids.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But extending it to the fabric of life itself. And what's fascinating here is the value would likely be subject to market forces.
So some experiences would be worth more than others.
Plausibly. Rare, novel, or particularly rich data, think a surgeon performing a unique operation, or an individual from a profoundly underrepresented culture sharing their perspective that could command a significant premium.
Okay, my head is spinning a bit. If this unfolds, what does it truly mean for you, for society?
Well, on one hand, it could create entirely new forms of digital labor, a data provider class.
People earning money from their experiences?
Yes. But, and this is a big really, but it would also likely exacerbate existing inequalities. It could create an experiential proletariat.
A what?
An experiential proletariat, where people with more common lives or perhaps in more desperate situations end up selling their most intimate data for trivial sums just to get by.
That's a dark possibility.
It is. And it risks turning life itself into a form of performance where you might be subtly incentivized to curate your actions, your conversations, even your feelings for marketability.
The quiet commodification of the self.
Exactly. And it's a chilling manifestation of Goodhart's law.
Remind me.
When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. The market seeks genuine experience, but the very act of purchasing it, of measuring and valuing it, could paradoxically corrupt the authenticity of the signal at its source.
Because people start performing authenticity for the market.
Precisely. The report even outlines different potential market models: open brokerage, personal data unions, even a black market for illicitly sourced data, each with starkly different economic and social impacts for you. It's a vision that could lead to a new form of digital feudalism.
Digital feudalism. Okay, that's heavy.
It's a potential future we need to consider carefully. So, as we've explored today, this concept of human as base reality is truly critical for the future of AI.
Yeah.
The threat of model collapse and epistemic drift is not theoretical. It's a real danger, driven by AI models feeding on their own outputs and progressively losing that unique, irreplaceable signal of human experience, our subjective qualia, our embodied common sense, our genuine emotions.
So wrapping up, what does this all mean for us as we move forward? How do we navigate this?
Well, the report advocates for an approach it calls ontologically anchored AI.
Anchored AI. And it's built on pillars.
4 key pillars, yes. First, Technical guardrails, basically mandatory data provenance, and that continuous injection of verified human data to keep AI grounded.
Got it. Keep the good data flowing and track it.
Second, epistemic humility, acknowledging AI's fundamental limits, accepting it's a tool to augment, not replicate, human experience.
Don't expect it to be human.
Right. Third, ethical governance, establishing what they call experiential autonomy for you, ensuring that explicit, informed, dynamic, and granular consent over your data we talked about.
Putting the human user in control.
And finally, human in the loop, making human feedback not just an afterthought, but a core continuous principle of AI development and evaluation.
So constantly checking it against human reality and values.
That's the framework proposed.
Okay. So maybe the greatest existential risk for AI isn't some sudden malevolent Skynet-style takeover,
Perhaps not.
but a slow, quiet, and inexorable drift into meaninglessness. A profound detachment from the very reality we inhabit.
That seems to be the specific danger this report highlights. Yes. The risk of AI becoming powerfully stupid, in a sense.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. What stands out to you about this idea that the very authenticity of human experience could become a tradable and potentially corrupted commodity?
And maybe more importantly, how might we, all of us, ensure AI remains powerfully intelligent precisely because it stays tethered to the human world we know?
Something to really chew on.